Right, it is day 7 of the Silent Movie Marathon 2, can you believe it? And I'm about to start watching film number 17. I mean, there's been a few shorts in there, but man, 17 films in a week is pretty ridiculous, I have to say. But it's been a great week so far, and I'm guessing it'll take me another week to finish off the rest of them, but the stack looks so much shorter now, and I'm kind of moving the Blu-rays on top of my shelf above the TV. In fact, I might show it to you in a second, just to kind of keep track of what I've watched and the way that the pile is slowly going down. But I've decided to go with this one. Another long film, 2.5 hours, but it's one I've been dying to see for a very long time. It is Spion. Although one of the guys who works with Eureka Massive Cinema, Kevin, who posts on Blu-ray.com, the forums, he told me he watched quite a few of my Massive Cinema videos, and he said that I'm pronouncing Spion wrong. Well, I didn't imagine that Spion was how you pronounced it, but I think it's Spione or something like that. Either way, Spies. Fritz Lang Spies, Spione, and it's from 1928. And so once I've seen this, I will have seen every Fritz Lang film from 1922 to 1933, over a decade of work, and I'm really excited to be able to say that I've done that. And I'll probably give you a rundown of that decade of work when I talk about this film. Because at this point, I mean, I've just talked so much, why not talk even more? Because I have a lot to say about Fritz Lang. I'm a huge Fritz Lang fan, and I'd love to talk about some of his films again, but most importantly, fill this gap in from the collection, and fill it in terms of me seeing all those films from that era. And I'd love to see his earlier films as well, and some of his later films. But yeah, here we go. I don't know anything about this other than it's an espionage kind of film. I did actually get sent this on DVD, a DVD screener disc from Eureka to review. And I got about 10 minutes in, and I thought, I'm just going to wait for the Blu-ray. Because I requested a Blu-ray, but they sent me a DVD. And I thought, I'm just going to wait and I'll buy the Blu-ray. I'll gladly pay for it. And yes, what I have. And now I'm going to check it out in high definition and see what it's all about. Let's do it. Oh, God. Here we have the menu, and there's 2 choices of score. Once again, I hate this. I hate having to choose between scores. But I did say that I was going to show you the stack that I've got here. This is all the films that I've watched so far. This is a week's worth of viewing. So we've got The Navigator, Crow Fidel, Wings, The Epic of Everest, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I might still watch a couple of those. Bonus silent films. We've got Lucky Star, Seventh Heaven, The River, Taboo, The Cabinet, Dr. Caligari, The Adventures of Prince Ahmed, The Phantom of the Opera, and Battleship Potemkin. There's also a film there called Drifters I might watch. We've still got, I think, 2 films left of the Buster Keaton silent film collection that I haven't seen, short film silent film collection that I haven't seen yet, so there's 2 more to go from that. And then we also have the second film in this box set, The Great White Silence. And there is another little stack down on the floor that represents all the other silent films I've yet to watch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think there's 7 down there. So yeah, still quite a lot to go, but time to get on with Fritz Lang's Spion, however you pronounce that. And yeah, I might have to do some research on the score and see which one is supposedly the best one. Let's do it. Alright, I am 17 minutes into the film, really enjoying it so far, and I just went to cook some dinner. Not a very healthy dinner, but I've got 3 hot dogs here, got some mustard there, some nice sugar-free Coke, and there's the movie cover there again. But yeah, really enjoying it so far. The plot is still waiting to kind of kick into high gear, but I'm really enjoying the setup, and some familiar faces already from other Fritz Lang films, like Willy Fritz and what's his name? Kevin Rudolph, Rudolph Klein Rogge, who's in many of Fritz Lang's films. He's a fantastic actor, and he's the big baddie in this one, which is really cool. And it seems like Willy Fritz is kind of the cool secret agent leading man in the film as well, which is also very cool. And I'll talk about that more after I've seen the film. But yeah, let's just eat these hot dogs, drink some Coke, and continue on with the Fritz Lang film, which I'm enjoying immensely so far. I mean, just the way he directs and puts shots together, the way that intertitles are used differently in the film, and text flashes on the screen, and just the shots, the angles, the way he composes movement and everything within the frame, and it's just brilliant. So yeah, cannot wait to keep going on with this. It looks great on Blu-ray as well. Yeah, I'm just in heaven right now. Awesome. Okay, I just had to rewind the film a little and just show you this scene, because I'm probably going to forget to mention it in my review later, because it's just so, look at this. Orchestra's ready. Counting him out. Is he out? Okay, he's knocked out. Fire up the music. Alright, everyone comes out and starts dancing. It's ridiculous. It's so funny. Just love that. They're like, okay, boxing match is over. Let's get to the dancing. Fire up the orchestra. Just really tickled me for some strange reason. It's like, now the party's started. I'm about an hour into the film now. Absolutely loving it. This is the lead actress from Woman in the Moon. So it's cool to see her again as well. And I just wanted to show you this shot because it just shows you how great Blu-ray is, right? You probably won't see it on camera, but when her hand comes as close as it does, I can see her fingerprints on her thumb and on her whole hand. It's unbelievable. Just the level of detail that we're able to see in films from 90 to 100 years ago. Just awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I just had the biggest grin on my face right there and got to show you this. First, just look at this scene of him trying to give him the money and he keeps trying to grab it, look. It's so funny, but just check this out. Metropolis posters on the wall. See that? Blink and you'll miss it. Awesome. That's so cool. Of course, Metropolis came out the year before this, in 1927, and I love this little bit where he tries to grab it. That's so funny. Was really surprised me. This must be like one of the first instances I've seen of like just like an inside like Easter egg. So you got the poster there, which is on the steelbook, the new massive cinema steelbook, and then up there you got the other classic poster. So that was just really cool. I just spotted that and I was like, ah, the Metropolis poster. So that, yeah, I just had to throw that in and film that because just had a big grin on my face when I saw it. Okay, so I'm done with Fritz Lang's Spion. Let's just say Spies. I was looking forward to it, as I said earlier. I was really looking forward to watching this because it kind of again bridges the gap of all his films from 1922 to 1933 that I've seen now. So it's cool to see like over a decade's worth of every film a director has made, especially when it's a director as good as Fritz Lang. But from what I'd heard about the film, it wasn't as kind of praised as his other films. Obviously Metropolis is hailed as one of the best films ever made, and so I was kind of looking forward to it just because it's another Fritz Lang film, but I wasn't expecting too much. But what I came away with was definitely a film I would give 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever you want to call it. Do I think it's a masterpiece? No. Do I even think it's a classic? No. But I loved everything about it, and it's really, again, I've got to kind of get it in my head that when I rate something 10 out of 10, it's because I enjoyed it like to the maximum. Not that it's necessarily like a perfect film, but it is a great film. Definitely a great film. 2.5 hours long. Lots of characters, lots of little subplots. I mean, it felt like really modern. Like just the way that it's kind of shot, put together, the little things that happened throughout. It just felt it felt before its time in a way. And I guess Fritz Lang films do feel like that sometimes, but just very slick. The editing was great. The direction was incredible. There's so many shots in that I was just smiling at, because they just were done so well. All these little kind of details and things, and the storyline follows loads of secret agents, and that's what's really fun about it as well, is that everyone is kind of subject to you thinking as a viewer, okay, who are they? Whose side are they on? Because it's pretty much from the beginning of the film, anyone is fair game to be a double agent or something, because this guy walks into this office and he's got like a stubbly beard and he's dressed like a hobo, and he just looks like a regular kind of bum basically, but he turns out to be the hero of the film. He's just called number, is it 326? I think it's 326. He's just called number 326 throughout the whole film. Think 007, but before James Bond even existed. So number 326 is, he just goes around in the streets basically looking like a bum because he's undercover. And then he basically attacks this guy who comes into the room, and the guy's like, what are you attacking him for? And then he pulls out this tiny microscopic little camera, and then he starts raving because he's so dedicated to being this double agent. So right from the beginning that almost any character could be on a different side, and there's like lots of stuff going on. There's these Japanese characters, and there's a peace treaty that's being signed, and that's kind of like a main part of the film. You don't really know exactly what the ramifications of it are, but this treaty is really important to a lot of the different players in the film. And kind of the bad guy, as I was saying earlier when I was watching the film, the big baddie, played by Rudolph Klein Rogger, who is amazing. He is Dr. Mabuse from Dr. Mabuse, the Gambler, and he's also in the sequel, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. He's also in Die Nibelungen, he's in Metropolis, he's a Fritz Lang regular, and he's just awesome. He's such a great actor, and he's brilliant here in a role that's very reminiscent of Dr. Mabuse, actually. He has kind of different guises, in a way, and his character's name is Hagi, or Haggai, we'll just say Hagi for now. And he's kind of this big kind of bank corporate head, basically. He runs Hagi Bank, but he also is this kind of underground, not to say not secret agency, but I guess secret agency, but a bad guy's secret agency. A lot of stuff isn't given to you. You're not spoon-fed like every little part of the plot. The film starts basically, I think there's an intertitle that says strange things happen in the world, and then you just jump right into it basically. And there's lots of characters, but even though it gets a little bit convoluted at times with all the different characters, I pretty much pieced it all together, and I wasn't really confused too much. There was just one thing at the end of the film where I thought, wait, really? And I had to go back, and I rewound it like about an hour back into the film, and I suddenly realised the key scene that I kind of missed a detail on. It was really, really cool, and I was like, that makes so much more sense. So that was cool, and I guess it's a film that maybe on repeat viewings you can kind of spot other little things and stuff like that. But Hagi, great character, the actor is just brilliant, just the way he holds a cigarette and just takes it in and then puffs it out one nostril, and he's just like, he's got such a charisma about him, and he's always in this room, and he's got this kind of this woman who looks like a nun, dressed like a maid basically, and she's his aide, and she doesn't speak and stuff, and he does sign language to her, and he's always like somewhere just like, ominously like looking at someone. He can turn up anywhere basically, and you don't know what his character's going to do next, but for the most of the part he kind of sits in his kind of hidden secret office in the bank and dictates what all his minions will do for him. And again, there's a lot of plot in this film, but number 326, who's played by Willy Fritz, who is the lead actor in Frau im Mond, the next film Fritz Lang will make, his final silent film, Woman in the Moon. Willy Fritz plays number 326, and he's great. He's really, really good as the lead kind of secret agent, and he's trying to figure out all the stuff that's going on and just taking down the bad guy pretty much, just to kind of round it up succinctly. And a woman comes onto the scene, and she's working for Hagi, and we see her kind of try and seduce number 326 to kind of I guess foil his cover and and stop him from getting to the truth of everything. But she falls in love with him, and she's played by, I forget the actress' name, it's not going to be on the back, but she is the woman in the moon from Frau im Mond. So that was pretty cool to see her and Willy Fritz together again, because they kind of have a little love affair in Woman in the Moon as well, so that was kind of cool. And she's great. She's a great actress, a lot of expression that kind of told you what her character was thinking without you needing to hear what she was thinking, or read what she was thinking, I guess I should say. But yeah, she kind of falls in love with him. Then you find out that she's not really, evil per se. She just kind of was forced into working for Hagi because her, I think her father and her brother kind of got caught doing something, and they got killed basically, and so she kind of owes a debt, I think, something like that. Again, some of the plot details are a little light, but I just loved the way it moved. Every scene was interesting, and exciting. I mean, this is pretty much an action film in a way, and towards the last third of the film there's some great stuff. A brilliant scene inside a tunnel where a train is coming and it's going to crash into this static carriage. There's brilliant tension built up with the music, and the music wasn't an original score. There's two scores that were composed, I guess, way after the fact by Donald Sosin and Neil Brand. I just went with the Donald Sosin one because it was the first one on the menu pretty much, but I really liked it. There's some cool stuff, like every now and again the music would kind of correlate with what's going on, like whenever you'd see Hagi in his kind of headquarters, there'd be like a kind of like almost like a what's the word, like Morse code coming in, because there's a great shot in the film with these big radio towers and like circular kind of effects coming out of them to signal that all this information is passing through, and all these documents are always being like stolen and taken and intercepted and stuff. The opening sequence is fantastic. There's a great shot of a guy on a motorbike. It's a shot in the menu actually, which I showed earlier, and the camera's kind of underneath the wheel of the bike, and he's kind of like maniacally grinning as the bike is riding through the night, and then they shoot a guy while they're driving past in the car. It's just great kind of little beats to the story, and it kind of tells you what's going on very quickly, with quick cuts to different kind of perspectives and points in the story, without kind of having someone just say, oh, so this happened and a guy went over there and then this guy went over there. You just see it in very quick cuts again, kind of ahead of its time in that way, the way the story is told. And again, for 2.5-hour film, it doesn't really drag at all. Lots of stuff going on, again, lots of characters and things, but ultimately I wasn't, I didn't feel like I lost step with it, which is good. What else can I say about it, really, because I don't want to spoil too much about the other things that happen in the film. Fritz is also in the film. He's another great actor from that period. He's also in Woman in the Moon and in Metropolis. He had a really good role in the film, and I love the stuff that takes place on the Orient Express, the train. I just love trains and movies. It's one of those things that, for some reason, I just love. Anytime there's a scene set on a train, especially like a sleeping compartment, there's a couple of those things in the film, which was really cool. But yeah, I like the romance between the two leads. Again, I thought that Rudolph Klein-Rogge was fantastic as Hagi, brilliant, villain. And he kind of not crossed the line, but he danced over the line of overdoing it, but he never quite did overdo it. So he was kind of perfectly cast. He's a great character actor, so he pulled it off, and I just love how, as Hagi in his secret base, he kind of has his black hair kind of slicked down a bit over his face like that, and then when he goes to be the head of the bank, he just has it combed back, and it's a very simple thing, but he looks a lot different with it, so that's kind of cool. I like that little transition. Reminded me of Dr. Mabuse in a way, but not to the extremes of that way. He has like 20 different disguises. This shot here on the front of the Blu-ray is a great little scene in the film, and I was thinking that this guy would be like the hero of the film or the villain of the film, but he's probably in it for like 2 minutes. But it's a great little shot where they just crash through this building. There's some great kind of, again, action set pieces in this, and really exciting, thrilling moments, like this big kind of showdown at the bank at the end of the film. Lots of stuff going on. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, anything else I can really add? Well, yeah, I was saying the score was good and stuff, and there's Japanese characters, so kind of Japanese music is kind of played in every now and again. That worked, and the atmosphere was great. There's one great scene where the kind of the main Japanese character, he's walking home, and he puts his hand out, and a drop of water goes in the hand, and then suddenly it starts raining, and he's walking down the street, and there's one of those kind of just those kind of pillars that you see in all kinds of cities that just have posters on them. But like sometimes, the posters get ripped off and other ones get pasted on. It's just like a big mess of half-ripped posters, and there's like posters hanging off and the wind is blowing. Just a really cool dynamic image, and it just seems like any time Fritz Lang is directing a film, he fills the frame with interesting stuff, and just the way he composes it is brilliant. There's, again, as I showed you earlier, awesome to see Metropolis posters in the street during that one scene, like a really cool little Easter egg. And it wasn't just that one shot that I showed, actually you see it throughout the scene as the characters going back and forth, so that was really cool. Yeah, what more can I say, really? Again, loved the woman in the film, the lead woman. I forget what the actress's name is, but the character's name is Sonya, I believe. I think she's supposed to be Russian. That's one thing that I maybe would have preferred to know where the film was set. It's kind of a nameless country, so you don't know if it's set in Germany, even though it's a German film. I mean, Sonya's Russian, and then you have these Japanese people, and then they talk the treaties between Japan and the UK. Someone takes the Orient Express out of the borders of the country, and then someone flies somewhere else. So it's kind of like they never name a country, and I kind of wish they had in a way. But yeah, I just loved it. And number 326 was just great. There's a brilliant scene where he's got the stubbly beard. Like I said, he's trying to be a bum, and then someone knocks on the door. And so they're going to find him out, and so he puts shaving foam over his face, and he dresses up and stuff, and it just reminded me of Mrs. Doubtfire in a way. And he's like trying to, maintain his cover, and he's got just like a perfect kind of like mask of shaving foam over his face. And then when they leave, he's like, he's trying to like wipe it off. And then in the next scene, you see him, and he's clean shaven in a suit, and he's transformed again. And so little cool stuff like that, and yeah, all the little details that that Fritz Lang focuses on. Like, again, that shot I showed where Sonya's holding up this kind of pendant that becomes a big part of the film, and the love affair between the two main characters. And you can just see like the fingerprints on her thumb because the Blu-rays just look so good. But the way he focuses on details like that, I just really love. It's just a great way of storytelling, and he can do it really well with the visuals. But I thought the story was great too. The action was really impressive at times. Just thrilling stuff. There's a chase sequence between a car and like a motorbike with a sidecar, and I was just like almost grinning watching it. So love this film. Definitely give it a 10 out of 10. It isn't like a masterpiece or anything, but I loved it from start to finish. Maximum enjoyment. And I said I was going to talk about the rest of Fritz Lang's films while I'm here talking about silent films forever, but it's getting a bit late now, so I think tomorrow I will dig all the Blu-rays out I have and kind of talk through them for a bit. And yeah, this is the first day of the marathon so far. I've only watched one film, but I think that I'm happy with that because this one is definitely a new favourite of mine. And yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out. There's like an hour-long documentary on the film as well. Interested to hear more about it and read the booklet and stuff. I'm sure there's some good articles in the booklet here. Oh, that's a really good poster actually on the back that shows one of the pivotal scenes near the end of the film. That's the lead woman. I wonder if it says here on the front. No, it doesn't say the actress's name. I'm going to flick through the booklet, I guess, and show you a few images. There's the train coming through the tunnel. And again, I'm a big kind of train guy, so I love that that was kind of a big part of the film. This is a great shot in the film. Won't spoil what it means, but it's a really, really cool kind of almost fantasy, not even fantasy scene, but a fantasy shot. Just one shot that shows you what the character's feeling at that moment in time, and it was really, really effective. I love stuff like that. Here we go. Here's an example, just like the close-ups and stuff. That was like the microscopic hidden camera at the beginning of the film. I just love the extreme close-ups and the attention to the details. The images, and here we go. Everything I've talked about, there's an image of it. Here's the picture of number 326 with the shaving cream on to kind of hide his identity. And yeah, and he kind of has like a sidekick, I guess. Franz, I think his name was. This guy here, and I like that. He was there to kind of help him out throughout the film, and I enjoyed that. There's a great little moment in the film where he's trying to find out where the woman's gone, Sonia. She leaves basically when she knows that she can't be with him because of her association with Haggy. So she goes off and he's trying to find her, and this little kid knows where she went. And he's like, you know, I know where she went, he's motioning, and he's like, well, tell me. And he's like, you know, spitting in his hand, and he's like, come on, give me some money. So he gives the kid like a silver, you know, coin, and the kid's like biting it to make sure it's real. And I thought, he looks familiar. I looked it up, and he's also in Woman in the Moon at the beginning, in another kind of similar scene, I guess, where he's just hanging out in the street, but a cool little child actor who also did like this really cool backflip and then ran off. It was really random but kind of fun. I like just fun little stuff like that in films. There's loads of images in here of the film, like this. This is part of Haggy's headquarters, which looks really cool, just interesting with all the staircases and stuff. Everything, again, just looks interesting. And here's Agent, or number 326, as he looks like the bum at the beginning of the film, when he's kind of trying to be homeless, I guess. And this is the shot I was mentioning with the radio towers and kind of the animated signal lines coming out. So there we go. Anyway, that's a quick look at the booklet and stuff. That is it. Nothing more to say really. Fritz Lang's Spies, Spione, however you want to pronounce it. Brilliant film. Loved it. Alright, welcome to day 8 of the Silent Movie Marathon 2, and as I promised, as I said last night, I was going to show you my Fritz Lang Blu-ray collection, even though 2 of them aren't technically silent films. So, well, don't need to use the word technically, they're not silent films, but nonetheless, you know, a filmmaker's filmography over 11 years, all represented on Blu-ray, is pretty cool to me, and it feels quite special to own that part of a certain director's history / movie history in general, because he made so many great films. So let's just take a quick look at them. I've kind of lined them all up on the table, thought it'd be pretty cool to look at. As you can see, we got all 9 of the Eureka Massive Cinema releases of Fritz Lang's films. There are 3 versions of Metropolis. Let's just go through them. We got the Steelbook of Dr. Mabuse the Gambler. We got the 2-disc Blu-ray of Die Nibelungen. Well, that's 2-disc Blu-ray as well, because these 2 are like nearly 5 hours long. Altogether, we have the original release of Metropolis with the slipcover. We have the original Steelbook of Metropolis, which is very rare now. Thanks again, Vezius, you're the man. We have the new Steelbook that came out, was it this year, last year? I think it was this year, which is has another Blu-ray disc to it that has the Giorgio Moroder version of Metropolis. We have Spione, or Spione. We have Frau Immonde, his final silent film. We have M, his first sound film, and then we have The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. He made, I think, 3 Dr. Mabuse films. The third one, I think, was in the 50s or the 60s. Probably the 50s is more likely, but yeah, these are the 2 that star Rudolf Klein Rogge, yeah, which is this guy here. I always, for some reason, think Kevin, because he has Klein in his name. I think Kevin Klein, but yeah. So here we go, pretty cool, I think. quite a nice little collection of films, and I'll just kind of briefly talk about them and give you my thoughts on them, because why not? Fritz Lang is awesome. So the first one is Dr. Mabuse, Der Spieler, The Gambler, which is a two-part film, so there's two Blu-rays, and both films are about, well, over 2 hours long either way, and they're all split up into acts as well. So you could almost watch this like a TV series if you wanted to, and it really works like that, like a crime serial. But I watched it all in one go. Well, no, I watched the first film on one day and then the second film on the next day, so I kind of tried to watch it in two big chunks, which was great. And I think looking back on it, I would give this film a 10 out of 10. I don't think it probably is that great, but I just loved it so much, and I was so blown away by the fact that I just watched a near 5-hour long film, and you know, it never really bored me, and it was really interesting and cool and visually, you know, awesome. I mean, just some great sets, some great cinematography, even in 1922, and even some great special effects in this. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, the story is very simple. You got Dr. Mabuse here, who's this kind of master of disguise, who's played by Rudolf Klein-Rogge, who's incredible. And you know, even the opening scene of the film, I'm not going to go full into review, but the opening scene of the film, he's just flicking through a pack of cards, and when you get a close-up on the cards, they're cards of himself in different disguises. He's literally like deciding, who am I going to be today? And he basically just likes to kind of play with people's lives. He's not gambling with money, he's gambling with people's lives because he gets off on it. And so he kind of just interferes with people's lives, and you know, he produces counterfeit money. He just has his hand in everything in Berlin, and it's an excellent film. So good. I mean, again, great special effects. I won't spoil why, but there's some great scenes with special effects, just the way text is used, and you know, great kind of detective on the hunt story as well. As there's a detective, Inspector von Wenck, I believe, is after Dr. Mabuse, and it comes to an incredible finale, which is fantastic. Yeah, Dr. Mabuse, Der Spieler is an amazing film, in my opinion. Then we move on to 1924, which is his next big two-part, near 5-hour film epic, and it's Die Nibelungen, which is a big, sprawling fantasy epic. Great scope. Great imagination, great sets, you know, I mean, I watch this and think it's amazing how much money Fritz Lang was given to make this film, because it's so big and just wonderful. It really is. I mean, it predates Lord of the Rings, you know, before it was even written, and it's one of those kinds of stories, just a big epic tale. And I'm not saying it's like Lord of the Rings in terms of the story, but just that kind of fantasy adventure, and then all the other stuff that goes along with it. And I kind of likened it to Game of Thrones as well, in terms of the kind of the backstabbing, the plotting, you know, the cloak and dagger stuff in the second film. The second film is a revenge movie. The first movie is just a kind of an adventure film. So it's a really good mix, I think. A lot of people think the second film, you know, the second part of this film, I should say, kind of brings it down and gets a bit more slow and boring, but I just loved every second of it. And I, in fact, talked about this, I believe. No, I didn't talk about it in the Silent Movie Marathon, but I talked about it in the first watch video of the Blu-ray Brothers that week, which was, I think, 1920s week or Silent Week, which is when I did the Silent Movie Marathon to begin with. So I think I did the Silent Movie Marathon, and I was on such a high that I went and watched this and did a video on this as well. But yeah, awesome film. Definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. It's just, I just watched it and was in awe the whole time, and again, couldn't believe I watched a 5-hour film that kept my interest that long. Then we have Metropolis. Again, just a brief note on the releases. You got the original one there with the slipcover that comes out like that. Again, great Blu-ray, and I'll talk about that once I get to the next one, which is the Steelbook, which I'm so glad to have. This was the holy grail for me for a long time, and a really good guy, Vezius, who's a viewer and subscriber, and even a Patreon supporter, sent me this because he bought the new Steelbook and he felt like he didn't need this one, and he knew that I was trying to find it, even because I'm collecting them, and this one was a big one for me, and so he sent it to me, and it was just awesome that he did. And yeah, I can't believe I own this. I'm really, really grateful. And awesome Steelbook. I even love the spine, just the text on the spine I just adore, and the artwork is fantastic. So yeah, the Blu-ray of this is great. I've said that already. Okay, let's just take out the third one and then I'll talk about the Blu-ray. So this is the new Steelbook, the gold Metropolis Steelbook, and this is actually the poster, one of the posters that's seen in the background in Spione, which is awesome. Again, love this, love the spine, love how they went for a different font. They went for like the Metropolis font, like you see there on the back. Really, really cool. I think this is limited to, I think, 4,000 copies. This is 1,398. It says on the back. You probably won't be able to see it unless I zoomed in really far, which I'm not going to bother to do. So Metropolis, yes. I'm not sure if the original release had 2 Blu-rays or not, or if it was a Blu-ray and DVD double play kind of thing. Let's have a look. We'll open it up. Let's just get into it. No, it's just the one Blu-ray. Okay, so there we go. We've got the Blu-ray, you got the booklet, and then the inside artwork, which is just phenomenal. I mean, when I got this, I was just like, wow, this is a Blu-ray. You know, I think this is my first massive cinema release. And you got the city there on the inside artwork. So it's a one Blu-ray release, but an incredible Blu-ray because it has the restored version of Metropolis. It's now called the complete Metropolis. You know, it's not quite complete. The full version of Metropolis is still lost pretty much, but you know, this is the best you're going to get. There was a new print that was found, I can't remember what it was, in some country, Argentina, something like that. There's a documentary on it, on this Blu-ray called The Journey to Metropolis from 2010. Motorbike on crack outside. Yeah, so it's reconstructed and restored in 2010. Includes 25 minutes of footage previously thought lost to the world. So this is now closer to its original running time, and this is 2 hours and 30 minutes long. You got full-length audio commentary. You got the hour-long documentary about the rediscovery of the film, newly translated optional English subtitles, and all that kind of good stuff. And also the original score by Gottfried Huberts, who is an amazing composer, because the score to this really makes the film, in my opinion. Well, not that the film, you know, wouldn't work without it, but it makes it so much better, in my opinion. I love it, again, as I've said before, when a film has its original score. Also worth noting that the Die Nibelungen Blu-ray has also an original score, I believe, by Gottfried Huberts. Yeah, Gottfried Huberts' score is also present on that, so that's really cool. And the score on Die Nibelungen is great as well. But this new edition of Metropolis has a second Blu-ray disc with another documentary on it, and the Giorgio Moroder version of Metropolis, which I think was released in the 80s and has color tinting and is filled with 80s music. Really not sure to think about that, and I still haven't given it a shot. Maybe I should do that for this. I don't know. Probably not. I don't know if that counts as a silent film, but you know, maybe. I think Queen's on there, Prince is on there, maybe. So interesting. But yeah, great release, and the film itself is just an absolute epic, one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. You know, it's worthy of the lofty praise that is often thrown upon it as one of the best films ever made and one of the great films of the silent era. Yeah, really just great on all levels. And then we have the one I watched last night, you know, which isn't quite as great as Metropolis, but I still would give it 10 out of 10 for pure maximum enjoyment. Just a great spy thriller espionage slice of fun action, you know, pulp fiction. It's just brilliant. I loved it, and the Blu-ray is great. There's an hour-long documentary on this. There's an hour-long documentary on Die Nibelungen as well. There's a full-length, near 5-hour audio commentary on Dr. Mabuse Der Spieler as well. I mean, they go all out with Eureka Massive Cinema. These are all massive cinema releases. I don't know if I mentioned that. So yeah, it's great. They've released like all of his films from the silent era, pretty much. I mean, you can go earlier. He did films in the 1910s, and I think there's one from 1920 as well. But most of his big silent films they've released. And then we move on to 1929's Frau Imond, Woman in the Moon. Talked about this far too much. This one I did do in the first silent movie marathon, so no point to go into any depth. But a great film that I absolutely loved. It's my favourite Fritz Lang film still. It's not his best by any shadow of, you know, any blah blah blah, any kind of phrase you can throw. It's nowhere near as good as any of his great films. I'd say it's better than Dr. Mabuse Der Spieler. I'd say it's better than Spione, but I think Metropolis, Die Nibelungen, you know, they're definitely well above this film. But this film, for me, is my absolute favourite because it deals with space travel, it deals with a trip to the moon, and it's done so well, and I love it. Again, the sets, the music, it's fantastic. I don't think the music is original or not. I can't remember now offhand. It doesn't say it all, so it must have been a score that was composed, you know, in contemporary times. But nonetheless, in love with this film. And again, the same two leads from Spione, Willy Fritz, and I forget the woman's name now, but she is, yeah, she's in the film. She is the woman in the moon in a way, and the woman who goes on the trip when they fly the rocket up to the moon and everything. But yeah, amazing film. Again, won't spend too much time blabbering on about it, 'cause I've already done that last time in the first silent movie marathon. Then we move to 1931. We have M, an absolute masterpiece, one of the best films I've ever seen by far. You know, Peter Lorre is a child killer in this, and people are on the hunt for him basically. And just the way Fritz Lang used sound for the first time was great. He didn't just say, okay, I'm going to make a film that has sound in it. I'm going to use the sound for dramatic tension and for certain devices and things like that. And the direction is incredible. Amazing film, amazing release by, you know, Massive Cinema. Brilliant stuff. And then finally, 1933 is The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, which also stars Rudolf Kleinroger as Dr. Mabuse, but it's a bit different, and it's done you know, it's completely different in a way to the first Dr. Mabuse film, but I like the link between the two. There's a link between the two, but they're very different films, and it's really just an absolute, like, almost masterpiece of a thriller. Excellent film. So there we go, my Fritz Lang collection, my thoughts on it, and also one thing I wanted to mention, which is quite interesting. I should probably try and find her name out. Maybe there's a cast listing in the booklet, and then I can kind of get more of a grasp on what I'm saying. Okay, here we go. Starring Gerda Marus. Gerda Marus. Okay. So Gerda Marus, who plays Sonia in Spione. Beautiful woman, you know, she was in her, I think, mid-20s when she made this film, and this is when she kind of begun an affair with Fritz Lang. Now, Fritz Lang was, I forget her name, I have to open the booklet again. Fritz Lang at the time was married to, I believe, Tia von Harbo, who is a woman that he that wrote a lot of his scripts. Let's have a look. Yes, Tia von Harbo. She and Fritz Lang, they worked together on many films, Metropolis, this film, and I believe Woman in the Moon. I believe even all the way up to The Testament of Dr. Mabuse. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, they were an item, and I think he had an affair with Gerda Marus while they were making this film, or just before they were making this film. He met her, was enchanted by her, and just cast her instantly as the lead in this film, the Russian spy, Sonia, which is very interesting. And I think Fritz Lang was in his late 30s at the time, so quite an age gap between them, but nonetheless, you know, he got in there with her and had an affair. But what's really interesting to me is that, and I shouldn't even be talking, this is like sordid gossip, you know, this is like TMZ stuff if that was around at the time, or if this happened in modern day. It's just like, just bullshit TMZ stuff, you know, poking into people's private lives. But I just find it really weird because Rudolf Kleinroger, who's in most of Fritz Lang's silent films, Dr. Mabuse, Die Nibelungen, Metropolis, you know, he's the mad scientist in Metropolis, and you know, The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, Spione, he's in like loads of his films. He was originally married to Tia von Harbo, or was with her, and she left him for Fritz Lang. And I believe after that, you know, Rudolf Kleinroger continued to make films with Fritz Lang and Tia von Harbo, who was writing them. So he continues to work with the people who kind of took his wife away from him. And then, in the end, anyway, Fritz Lang went on to someone else. And so I just find it very weird how that stuff happens with people, how they break off and have affairs with people, and then they continue to like be around the people that they kind of screwed over, and then all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was reading that in the trivia of the film, and I was like, wow, that's pretty weird. But anyway, I don't know why I even mentioned that. It was just something that interested me, I guess, the sordid affairs of the movie industry. Anyway, right, the next film, the first film of day 8. Here we go. I'm going to grab it now, and then I'll come back.